to another episode of Cowboys and Indian, and please do hit like and subscribe. Once again, we've got our good friend Charlie on from Manchester United, and we brought him back on to give us an update. But before we move on to Charlie and start pestering him with questions, just introduce our pundits. Singing Cowboy, Duggy, how you doing?
Good morning, everybody, on this beautiful morning.
Morning, Stuart. How are you?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm okay, mate. Yeah, I'm fine.
Good man. Top man.
Just running late.
Dougie, do you want to take this away?
Yeah, morning, everybody. It's just a few things, really. It sort of runs on from what we did the other day. No one's seen... No, I don't think no one has seen that one, have we? Where we did one with John. But personally, since we've got Charlie back on, I think Man United have actually improved. I think they was struggling with the system when Amorim come in. Literally, every fan that we had, every sort of West Ham group, shall we say, wanted Amorim to come in. For whatever reason, he flew over, didn't he? And someone grassed up to the press that he was here and caused him untold problems when he went back to Portugal. And he went to Man United. But, there's been shouts, a bit like at our end, for him to go. But I think with all the injuries he's had, and then I think suddenly but surely they're understanding the system that he wants them to play. And unlike Stuart, I think that the 0-0 draw for Man United at Man City last week was actually a good result and a good point for Man United. Charlie, do you think they've improved or they've learned the system?
I think we have improved a lot more. I think the performances have been better, not overly great. I still think we struggle to break teams down and create more chances. But I think from a defensive standpoint and performance overall, yeah, we're getting there. It's better. Even against Forest, even though we lost 1-0, we didn't get battered. And that was before we were getting outplayed all the time. We deserved to lose. We were conceding too many chances. I think now, what's missing is that final third. And I think that's more down to the players we have rather than the performance of the team.
Charlie, but you did lose young Ahmed, who was an outstanding prospect at the beginning of the season. He come on and scored 3 goals, didn't he? And like I said yesterday, we haven't released that yet. Like Saka coming back, like City missing Rodri, I do think he's been a big loss for you, Ahmed. And Martinez, especially Martinez at the back.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Martinez was he was the one who carried the ball forward. He could play a real good pass through, split the defence. We don't really have anyone who can do that anymore. But I think there were games where he's dropped Bruno Fernandes deeper, which I think has helped. Xerxes seems to have improved when we've played him as the 10. But yeah, Ahmad was always a big loss because the problem is you got, Rashford at that time wasn't really performing. Anthony was doing nothing. And the thing with Garnacho, I don't think he's going to be the player everyone thinks he's going to be. I think his decision-making leaves a lot to be desired. Something that can come with age, but not necessarily. At the moment, all he wants to do is cut inside and shoot. But I think the big difference is Amorim's now playing him on the right. So he can't do that as much. So now he's almost like becoming a bit more of a team player, which I think has helped in Hoyland.
Did you not think that Rashford was like that, though? I mean, we go back to Anthony, didn't we? Who's been like an outstanding player since he's come back to Spain.
I liked him at West Ham.
Yeah, we said that, didn't we? And I do think sometimes with the positions that you play them, players do get greedy and they want to, Garnacho wanted to cut in all the time, as did Bowen, as did Kudus. And they don't sort of play to each other. I think sometimes with injuries, you can actually fall into a formation, a bit like West Ham did when they played Arsenal. We had a few injuries and he had to change the team around and they ended up just playing like a team. I think with a team of superstars, which I don't think there is any in the Premiership at the moment, I think Liverpool are a good settled side. I don't think I don't want to take anything away from Liverpool because it sounds like it ain't, but I think they're going to win the title. But I don't think we've had this league as we've had like an outstanding team where you've gone every week. Wow, if you had a bet, for instance, I like my bets. Most of your bets could get let down every week. I'd have had Forest to beat Everton yesterday. But it's been one of those years where no one's looked really that good, have they? What do you think, Tone?
Yeah, well, you know my opinion. Well, first things first, I got off the wrong side of the bed, so he's going to be grumpy. But I think this season's been poor. Just the whole Premiership.
Yeah.
I just think it's been, you know, the title was sort of settled when we beat Arsenal, I suppose, earlier this season, and then the bottom three, thank God, are worse than us. I think the actual matches boring. You know, playing out the back, tip, tip, tip. Just, you know, the only, so I suppose the exciting parts is, I hate to say it, underdogs, Nottingham Forest. You know, a little bit more swashbuckling football. And suppose Bournemouth to an extent. But the rest of them, I mean, what the hell is Man United and Tottenham doing near the bottom of the league? That's just, and if you talk about that Super League thing that you keep mentioning, they're supposed to be two of the team that's supposed to lead the Premiership and go off into the horizon on this Super League. At this rate, they'd be lucky if they stay in the Premiership.
You're right. It's been a very poor season all round for everybody, I think. But then,
What do we think's caused it, Stu? What do you think has caused this to be a poor league this year? Or do you think last year weren't the greatest league as well?
to be honest with you, I think the Premiership is losing its pull. It's not so exciting anymore. I mean, it still gets back to what I was saying the other day and listening to Gary Neville's podcast. Football's too nice now. It's too friendly. It's too lovey-dovey. You know, it won't be long until every player's holding their hands and singing a Coca-Cola song around the world. You know what I mean? But Gary Neville was right. I mean, I don't like the bloke, and I think this is one of the only times I've ever actually agreed with what Gary Neville was saying. The insipid games are insipid now. I mean, you're saying about Man United improving. I don't see it. I do not see no improvement. They're playing exactly the same as they've been playing all season, how they were playing last season, and teams are getting worse. Apart from, like you say, Nottingham Forest, they've really given it a good go this year, but then they lost yesterday to Everton. You know, I think the Premier League's on its way out, to be honest.
I don't think it's on its way out, Stu. I think
I don't, mate. I think it's going to be like Italian football was years ago. I mean, years ago, Italian football was the football. All the top stars were there. That's where the money was. And then it slowly started drifting off. And I think the Premier League will drift off, and it will just become a top division in this country. It won't be.
No, I don't think you're like with the Italian league, Stu. That listen. I always go back to listen to all the top managers at the time. They said they had to learn to play in Europe, didn't they? You know, Ferguson with his gung-ho football and his counter-attacking. He had to learn that a 1-0 win or a 0-0 draw away was an actual good result. Because the Italians were the masters of defending. If you speak to a load of Italians and say, who's your favourite footballers? They'll speak about Maldini, they'll speak about Buffon in goal, they'll speak about Baresi, because they could defend. And when we spoke with James the other day, you and I, he said he would start his team so that it scores goals. And I said, no, personally, I think just like building a house, you get the foundations, you get a good keeper, you sort yourself out from the back. Once you do that bit and you don't concede. I mean, personally, I think Paolo Maldini gets in any game, in any time, you know, any part of the world. But I do think you go through transitions. You said the other day that Gary Neville blamed the ticky-tappy football of Guardiola, which I don't know why every team followed. Do you think it's the end of tippy-tappy football, Charlie?
Possibly. I mean, yeah, like you say, why Southampton would choose to play out from the back in the Premier League, knowing, all right, you can do that in the Championship. The thing is, look, with the Championship, I think it's one of the most exciting leagues in the world because it's one of the most even leagues. You've still got teams that could, you know, loads of teams that can make the playoffs. It's the relegation, kind of always like it's quite a few teams. But the moment those teams get into the Premier League, the gap is just massive because for some reason they think they can play out from the back once they get and not change the way they play. I think this is half the problem. Playing out from the back, look, it's good if you can do it. It's good if you got the players, but if you haven't, then you've got to play what suits the players you've got. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. Football is becoming boring, yeah. Like, it's too well drilled, instructions down to the last second. It's, yeah, I mean, you don't really get excited. I mean, like today, Newcastle Man United. For the Premier League, it's always been a great game to watch. But you just, and actually, I do think Newcastle are one of the most exciting teams to watch in terms of the Premier League. But you don't sit there and look forward to it. You're not fussed if I watch the build up. I'm not fussed afterwards. When I listen to the punditry, it's almost like, well, the game's finished, I'll turn it off now. But you're just not that.
Charlie, listen, I want to say something here, right?
It gets something like the FA Cup and things, like we've said before. Years ago, the FA Cup final day would be a whole day. You know, you'd be watching it from 10 o'clock in the morning. It'd be on all day. But now, it's half hour before the game. You know, because it's gone. Football's going boring. It's boring. It's boring to watch. You know, I mean, like Charlie was saying, Newcastle Man United would have been a big draw, but it's not anymore.
Let's go back a bit, Stu. Right, we want excitement, right? Which is going to lead me to my second point I want to talk about today: the death of the number 9. So I think if the old-fashioned number 9 comes back, football comes back with a bang, because you can add the elbows. But look, if you like, you go back to Southampton, Charlie, right? You say, I want to play out from the back. I've no idea who the manager is. Apparently, they've had loads of managers this year, right? If you're going to play, if you know someone's going to play out from the back, the easiest way to nullify someone playing out from the back is play a high press, right? Don't drop, play the high press. So when you're training on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever you're changing for the game, you go, right, we want to play tippy, tappy, Guardiola, whatever you want to call it. If we've got, hypothetically, we're playing Arsenal, who are a high press team, or Man City, who are a high press team, we can't play that football because we've not got the players at the back. We're not confident of our goalkeeper. I mean, Ipswich, early on in the season, they've changed the guy, but they suffered massively at the beginning of the season with their goalkeeper. We're not playing like that. So let's play like this. Let's go route 2. You know, let's go someone wide, someone let this go for, lump the ball up, get the first phase football, knock it on, someone run onto it. Change your tactics. Because change your tactics for who you play, like most people do in Europe. Don't just think, oh, I've got to play the ball out because that's the way to do it. It's not the way to do it when you've got a team who are very, very good at the high press. And I think that's where Burnley suffered last year, and not one media pundit come out last year and said a word against Vincent Kompany. Most other teams would have got rid of him three quarters of the way through. Not one. All they did go on about was, oh, Moyes should keep his job, blah, blah, blah. And he come up and played exactly the same football and played into the hands, and they went back down. Change the system. It's not rocket science, is it? Come on, boys.
I think you're right, Duggy. I think you're right, Duggy. Sorry, Charlie, you adapt to the team. You adapt to the opposition, basically.
But you look at when Leeds come up under Marcelo Bielsa.
Yeah,
they was brilliant to watch. They done great in the league that first year, but the next year, teams figured out the way to play against them, and they went down. And he refused to change. And you know, managers have their style of play, and they don't seem to want to adapt it. But the thing is, you look at Man City, they was the best at pressing, but even they don't press well anymore.
No, it don't.
It seems like teams have almost figured them out. I mean, no one seems to be talking about how bad a season Man City have had. I mean, all right, they can still win the FA Cup. But if you look at Jurgen Klopp under Liverpool were quite a long ball team, but it works. It worked really well.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Ferguson, we were not, I mean, look, I know people going about his European record, but if you look at the later seasons under Ferguson, we got to 3 finals in 4 years. We were not an exciting team to watch in Europe. We were quite boring. We had the odd exciting game. But in Europe, it was slowed down, and it was a lot more of a tactical, almost like a football version of chess, really. It was quite like a tactical masterclass. But you knew that once we played in the Champions League, once we got to the Premier League, we played in a different way. But now it feels like all those old Champions League games where you sat there and you knew it was going to be almost like a tactical game rather than a football game. It's almost like now every game is a tactical game.
Yeah.
And I think that is the big problem. Why does every game need to be like a tactical, like, fight between the two managers? Why don't we just let footballers play? I mean, I always say the standard of player now, going from the lower leagues upwards, the standard of footballer is a lot better, but then there's not many world-class players as there once was. And I think the reason for that is because footballers are not allowed to express themselves as they once did.
Exactly. And Gary Neville said that in his podcast. I don't know if you watched his podcast, but he said exactly the same thing. Players are not allowed to express themselves anymore. The managers tell them, this is what you're going to do. You're going to play this system, how I want to do it. And you stay there. They're not allowed to express themselves anymore. They're not allowed to go out and, as JB pointed out, what Johan Cruyff said, entertain the fans. Entertain the fans. Let the fans go home and they've been entertained. That doesn't happen anymore. It's like you say, Charlie said, it's like a chess game. Football's like a chess game now. It's too tactical. There's no expression. You can't go out and play freedom. There's no freedom. There's no freedom at all.
When Thierry Henry went to Barcelona, Guardiola said to him, in the first 2/3 of the pitch, this is where you stay. This is where I want you. If you don't want to do that, then I'm going to pull you off. And I mean, take him off the pitch, by the way, right?
Yeah.
And he said, on the last third of the pitch, you can do what you want, right? So I think not just tippy-tappy football, I think positional sense and the tactical nous, people are far more, and this is where I think people lose it with certainly the players when new managers come in, of what they're supposed to be doing in a system. They don't know when to go. They don't know where to go. They don't know whether to play wide. They don't know whether to play narrow. Where there's 11 players on the pitch, you know, you've got one ball. You know, most players touch the ball between 2 and 3 minutes per game. You know what I mean? So when Charlie was a kid, I say, don't give the ball away. If you get the ball, you know, there was no tippy-tappy. But what I'm saying is I think in a positional sense now, players are told this is what you do. And when the likes of us, if we was watching, we go, oh, meet him. You know, West Ham give the ball away a lot on the flanks when they're in transition and someone's attacking us. And we never go and meet them. We wait on our penalty box before anyone goes. You're giving them far too much space and you're giving them time to look up and everything else where you should go and meet. But that's the difference, what Guardiola's brought into the game. And obviously, like Arteta, who Stuart knows I love, right? A lot of them players are now being trained like that. And that's the difference, I think. And I think a lot of players, I've had this argument with a lot of people. I don't think with Amorim, the players understood the system. And I think with Potter, the players are just not understanding the system and where he wants them to be on the pitch in transition, in attack, where the wing backs, as James was going the other day, I want to see the wing backs flying down the line. I want Scholes bopping it over for ball crew. They can't get back. So if they can't get back, then fullback, wing backs, whatever you want to call them, they'll always be fullbacks to me. Then you've got to have someone dropping in midfield. But then they go, no, we need Bowen and Kudus coming late. Then who drops? If you're right and left midfield, don't drop. Who drops? That leaves you with your three at the back. If we've left three at the back, it's all the positional sense. And I do think you're right. It's being trained out of the game, the natural love of the game, and just having the ball. That's the difference, I think. But I do believe, boys, I want to come on to this, right? My love of football. You know, when you're a kid, and I've always said it, like, you know, no matter, I've always said this to you the other day, when I watch a game, I'll pick one team I want to. It doesn't matter who's playing. It could be the second, third. It could be two teams on a Sunday. I'll go and watch kids' football. I'll pick one I want to watch. When you went to the Monday or the Tuesday and you went on the pitch and you said, right, we're so-and-so, we're Tottenham, we're West Ham, you always picked the 3-4 players you was going to be, depending on when you was there. I always like to be the centre forward because I think a big, old, bustling number 9 centre forward like a Paul Mariner, a Mark Aitley, even an Alan Shearer, a Johnny Artson, just people that can get amongst it. If you get amongst them defenders and wind them up from the beginning, Paul Mariner on away games in Europe used to headbutt. their centre half in the tunnel. And they go, you're going to get a lot more of that during the game. Now, I'm not condoning anything like that, but I do think having a proper old English is missing from the game. Do you agree?
We've been missing a number 9 for a long time in football.
Who plays? Let's start with who plays with the number 9 at the moment.
Forest
with Chris Woods, yeah.
Chris Wood. What we would call an old-fashioned English number 9, Forest.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you look at this season, their formulation seems to be working. That tactic seems to be working really well for them.
I think City were with Haaland because that's the only position Haaland can play is a number 9. He's not a footballer. He's a striker, and that's all.
He drops a lot more though, Stu, doesn't he? Haaland
he does
drops
now.
a lot more.
Well, he done it at the moment. He was injured, but yeah, that when he first come in, he wasn't dropping at all. He was staying. He was like a
on the halfway line.
He was like a Gary Lineker, just staying up there on his own, waiting for the ball to come to him, and then he'd try and score a goal. You know.
If you go back throughout the years, right, and look at great teams, right, for me, and I know Charlie disagrees with me because he thinks, I'll let him say who he thinks was the best ever. The best ever, number 9 for me that I see in my life, and I think had it all, but injury cut his career short, was Marco van Basten at Holland. I think he had it everything. And I mean, Van Nistelrooy did, Van Persie, but you disagreed, Charlie. You went for...
I think for me, growing up as a kid, it was Brazilian Ronaldo. He just, I mean, when I was growing up, he was unbelievable. I mean, remember France 98 was the first World Cup I remember. He was just unbelievable in that. Even for Barcelona before then, you just thought he had everything, could do everything. He was almost unplayable. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think injuries cut him short. I know his lifestyle as well, because, you know, Brazilians do love to, once they get all that fame and everything, because they've come from nothing, they just love to party afterwards, then they get all the money, and I think it cuts their career short. But yeah, I think if injury free, and I think if he was as professional as Messi and Ronaldo now, I think we're probably talking with him in terms of one of the best players ever. I think he is anyway, but in terms of like Messi, Ronaldo levels, I thought he was unreal.
But there's still not what you would call an old English number 9, is he? Where I think Van Basten was.
Yeah, but see,
I wouldn't have said Shearer. I wouldn't have said he was like Shearer or anything. Or like a Ferguson. No, I mean, in terms of an old-fashioned number 9, yeah, that was, yeah.
I mean,
that's
I think you were a good old-fashioned number 9. Look at Chelsea in the 70s, Peter Osgood.
Osgood, yeah. I just think, you know, there was so many different people.
Yeah. They were good number 9s, and you just don't have it now. It's not, they don't want a number 9 anymore.
Yeah, but in world football, not just
the
Prem. Look in world football.
You wouldn't have called Henry a number 9.
Yeah, but he weren't. He changed him, didn't he? Wenger, he started off as a winger, and Wenger changed him round to become a number 9. A bit like West Ham did with Antonio.
Yeah.
I think maybe like Van Nistelrooy and Drogba. Van Nistelrooy
Drogba. I think Drogba was class act. Yeah, near the end, I think he lost the plot a little bit, but I think he was a class act. You're right there, Drogba. I mean, Crespo, going back to Argentina, Charlie, was a great number 9. They just all had him.
Yeah, but everyone had at least one world-class striker. But the thing is, you could go, like, if they look in the summer now and they say, right, Arsenal need a striker, Chelsea need a striker, Man United need a striker, Liverpool need a striker. But you look across Europe and there's no one. There's no one you can go, like, at least like back in like 90s, early 2000s, you go, all right, well, Larsson's at Celtic, Batstuter's at Fiorentina.
Yeah.
You know, Shearer's at New. All right, Shearer would never leave. But do you know what I mean? There were world-class strikers at clubs where you could have thought, we'll go and get them. I mean, even, you know, I think like Deportivo La Coruña, I remember them till the early 2000s when they had like Diego Tristan and Roy Mackay. And there was always these little players, like not little players, but there was always these strikers at clubs where you could go like, well, they're not a big club, we'll go and get them. But now you just look and there's no one. There's no striker where you'd go, there's an abundance of good strikers out there. For me,
there's
anyway.
a dearth, Charlie, because it's been trained out of them. Like we've said about goalkeepers, it's been trained out of them that they've got to be a footballer before they are a goalkeeper now. And there's a dearth of strikers because they don't want them. They don't want the ball played to the head. Last week at the West Ham game, him coming on, the German guy, he changed the game. So they played the ball to his head, and he put himself about a bit. But now most teams, young Delap, who they reckon they're looking at now from Ipswich, maybe going to West Ham, he wants ball to feet. He don't want the ball in the air. Look at Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins has been a good centre forward for the last year. Wants the ball to feet. Mbeumo, Brentford, wants the ball to feet. All the Liverpool players, they want the ball to feet. Look at Arsenal. No, you're not getting players. They're talking about inverted wingers and getting the ball over. If you're going to get the ball over, you've no good if you've not got someone that can't use their head or bring the ball down, lay it off. And it's gone. It's going from the game. And I think that's the boring part. When the ball used to come over, and I said it the other day, you had normally we'd have two up front. Now, when we have a corner against and we're defending, literally we have 10 players and a goalkeeper back in our own area. Where's the outlet? Where's the outlet if the goalkeeper catches it? There's no outlet, and it's no good just lending it up to the goalkeeper because they're going to have two people on him. You need two up there, so if he can lay it off, knock it off. And players can't run all day. I think the difference with the game is they've played around with the game, but it's quite simple. Deep down football, there's one ball. There's 11 players. Play your triangles, find your space. I mean, listen, I know no one likes JWP in the West Ham team, but if you look at him, right, he's constantly got space. Now, he hasn't constantly got space because no one bothers marking him. He's got good movement. When he gets the ball, he might lay it off. But he's got space, and space gives him time so as he can lay the ball. And I think there's the difference. When you play your triangles, have good movement. Say that again, Stu.
He does nothing with that space. That's the problem.
No, but he's always there, Stu. If someone's in trouble, he's always available to receive a pass. He's always there. You have a look. If someone's got their back to goal and it's just about to get tackled, it's JWP that has the space.
I agree with you, but then what does he do? He doesn't look to make the pass forward. He turns around and passes it backwards.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about him in particular. I'm talking about how simple the game can be. And we've got players now. The worst player this year for me, the biggest disappointment, the worst player, and looks totally disinterested, is Kudus. But they're talking about the Saudis paying over money. He doesn't. You look at. I was saying about JWP making the space for himself, right? Kudus could make that space for himself, but he don't. He stands there, when he receives the ball, he's got two people on him straight away. And when all he does, he'll cut in. He won't pass to Bowen. Bowen won't pass Kudus. They're both going to try inverted, come in and shoot. It's not like that. The game's not like that. You want God. I mean, I've seen some fantastic. So even Teddy. If you look at Teddy when he was at Man United, come on, change the Champions League final. When he played for West Ham. Teddy had no pace, but his positional skills and what he could do with the ball was fantastic. That's what made Teddy Sheringham a great player. Teddy had, like I said, not an ounce of pace. Sutton for me weren't a great player. Ian Rush, if you look at what did Ian Rush do? Put the ball in the net, right? Weren't a great player, but was a great striker. If you look at, I think it was 1991, Charlie, when Man United lost the cup to Everton. But they kept lumping the ball up to Paul Rideout and Duncan Ferguson. And how did they lose the cup 1-0? The ball come back off a Ferguson header and Rideout headed it into the goal. They was good old bustling people that got into the game. And I think, you say about people get a defender putting a tackle in. What's better than, an old-fashioned striker going up? I know you're not allowed to use the elbow and push like they used to do. But they're the things that are lost from the game. And now this, as I've said about the goalkeeper now, it's going to take a generation for the goalkeepers. And eventually, they won't bother again. The goalkeepers will go back to getting the ball, throwing it out. It will change because it develop. And that's what's going to happen with a number 9. It's going to take a generation to get the old-fashioned number 9s back in the game again. I mean, I remember Arsenal paid a world record fee for Malcolm MacDonald, right, of £333,000, 333 pence. Do you remember? And he had these bandy legs, but his thighs was about that thick. I watched a game, and for England, he scored 5 goals against Cyprus. We won 5-0. I was at Wembley, and when he walked by you, his thighs, you know, I thought, how has he got legs that big? You know, and he was a monster. Keegan and Toshak. John Toshak was about 6'5", right? Wasn't the greatest footballer, but he used to head the ball down for Keegan, and Keegan used to put him away. He actually wrote a poem about Kevin Keegan, about their chemistry on the pitch. But they had two up front. They didn't put Toshak and Keegan back, even though he was the tallest on the pitch. They kept them up there. And Charlie George, we spoke about Charlie George, we spoke about Frankie Worthington and different places. If someone's got flair, for me, that's what's beginning to go from the game, as much as the number 9. You're just not getting flair players.
But if you think back in the day, I mean, we're dinosaurs, to be quite honest with you. But back in the day, your formation was 4-4-2. And that was it. There might have been a variation, but it'd always be 4-4-2. And like you say, there'd be two up front. There'd be one that could hold the ball and lay the ball off for the other one to score the goal, or vice versa. But you haven't got that now. You don't have that.
But they did muck around with
about Delap. Delap's not a number 9.
No.
I've watched it, and Delap comes back. He comes back as well. They all come back now. They don't stay up. They don't stay up there anymore. There's no outlet. I mean, I watched the highlights of City yesterday, and I must admit, one of their goals was Edison. He just hoofed it straight up, and I can't think who got but a City player was it that Mahmoud? Was it, or someone like that?
Mamouche.
Yeah, he got the ball and beat the defender and buried it in the back of the net. But that was goal. Edison got the assist. Totally cut out, you know, and that's what it used to be like with the old 4-4-2 system.
So there's times. So there's times to play that. There is in a game, depending on who you got, there is a moment where you can hoof it up. But it's been, as you guys have saying, it's been drilled out. But I've got a question, because Dougie, you made a good point about flair. You can't be a flair player no more. So if I go back to probably one of our last flair players was probably Payet. Yeah, would you say he was a flair player?
Yeah, 100%.
Luxury
player. Yeah.
Would
he be allowed to do what he done then in our team?
Yeah, of course he would. Like Di Canio, I think Di Canio walks into any team, and listen, a lot of people didn't like Payet because he just said he wanted to go.
But I think
you never know
in today's game, Payet would be stifled. He'd be told to stop all that. He would be stifled. He wouldn't be allowed to play like that.
He'll be told off. Do you remember when he was in that goal mouth? You remember he was in the goal mouth and he done that Rugbon, whatever that thing is, Rugbon, I think. And he passed it to the back post where Antonio headed it in. He'd get told off. Why didn't you use your right foot in the first place?
Yeah.
So he did that, and then Watford got the ump, and then they come back and beat us. They got the ump that he done it, and they come back and beat us. It's not you can't play. If you go back to the 80 Cup final, Arsenal were the best team at the time, right? Willie Young, David O'Leary, blah, blah, blah. They were going to beat us. Like, they didn't give us a chance. We was a second division team. John Lyall went 4-5-1. And he played Stuart Pearson in midfield and made it a 5-man midfield. And they had no idea. They kept looking at the bench, Arsenal, and he played David Cross up front. And we won the game. There's always been times where you can change the games round and do things and like change formations. But at the end of the day, it's still 11 players on the pitch. You should be looking for weaknesses in players. I've said to you, like, you know, when people had to go at Soufal or Cresswell, they're getting roasted. That's down to the captain to turn around and go to the left, the right midfield, up one of the centre-back. Listen, this bloke's better than him today. And it's going to happen in every team. You're going to get a better right winger than you are a left winger. You're going to double up on him. And when he cuts in, I want you there. I want you covering him, and I want you to come back and cover him. It's not. I think at the moment, we are overthinking the game. And instead of just leaving it to the fair players and get them out again. And it is stifling the game. It is stifling the flair. I mean, next year they're going to bring out the rule of the goalkeeper not being able to hold the ball for more than 7 seconds. I don't even know when it changed, when you could only hold it for 6 seconds. I remember it when you could only hold it for 6. Changed the game, you know, and it will change. I do think that the game will go back to being more exciting. VAR ain't helped, though.
But Dougie, you just mentioned something there, and I don't think it happens. So I'm supporting you here, by the way, not contradicting you. But actual management on the pitch, I don't see it anymore. as you just said, the captain or someone else will say, look, this is what's going on the pitch. They'll make some decisions on the pitch, but no one makes decisions. They just stick in their same silos. That's what I'm doing. That's what I've been trying to do. I ain't gonna always getting. Aaron Wan-Bissaka keeps on getting caught out on the right wing, but I ain't gonna do nothing. I'm not even gonna say anything to him. I'm just gonna carry on with my, because I don't see him talking. Do you see him talking on the pitch?
Yeah, but it should be down to the captain, Tone. And hence the reason I never like forwards as captains. I think your centre midfielder or your centre backs, they see the game. I mean, a goalkeeper, yes, he sees the game, but I think you need someone at the back that's seeing the game, seeing where the holes are, seeing where they're taking liberties, and going, right, this is where they're getting away. You know, I remember when we played Villa, and they kept doubling up on Grealish, and he was getting murdered. You know, and Soufal had probably his best game. What did the Villa bench do at half time? They stuck him on the right, Grealish, right? Yeah, and it's not. I'm saying it's simple things like that that they can change.
I disagree.
I'm not having a go at Potter, right? Because I think a bit like Amorim, I think he wants 11 players gone. God knows who them 11 players are. You know, Stu and I have both discussed this, and we both agree there's at least 8 need to go, right? So you've got to give him a chance to build his own team to see if he's got money. Same with Man United. They brought a 16-year-old in from Arsenal, and he went straight in the team. It was heaven, weren't it, Charles? And then he ended up getting hurt in about his third or fourth game. You know, a young lad of 16, I think he's got a major injury. But I think if you just give these managers the time, they will develop the youth. If you're only going to give a manager 2 years, they're not going to develop youth. They're going to buy their way to stay in the Premiership because they don't want to lose their job.
That gets back to what we've spoken about before. It's all down to money now. You're not given the time anymore to develop a team. It's all got to be instant success. Instant success. So you go out and you spend 40, 50, 60, 100 million, whatever, on players to bring in for instant success. It's what I said the other day. Come the summer, if West Ham were to find a left back, a cheap left back or a free left back that was a couple of years older than Scholes, they'd take him, they'd bring him in, and Scholes would be pushed back down the line again because they want success. They don't want to develop players anymore. I mean, look at Man United back with Fergie. When Fergie, I mean, he was slaughtered when he brought all them kids on and started playing them kids, but he stuck to his guns and he used them kids. And what did they turn out to be? One of the best teams the Premier League has ever seen. They were winning league after league, European trophies, FA Cups, and he used mainly the kids that he brought in.
They built that league. They built the league. They built that team.
Yeah,
was one of the
but
teams
today,
that built the Premier League.
Today, managers are not given that chance. For Potter to succeed like that, he's got to be given at least 5 years. 5 years to give it a go, to bring players through. But they're not given the time anymore. Amorim won't be given the time at Man United. They won't give him the time if he can't deliver success, because Man United are a big club. They are a big club. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world, you know. And if he don't deliver success, he'll be out the door. They will get rid of him. He'll be out the door, gone. And then another manager comes in, and then he's got to try and implement his way, his style. And it's like you said before, Dougie, the players are confused. They don't know what they're doing because one manager's telling them one thing, then the next month they get another manager that tells them another thing. And this is the problem. There's no time in the game anymore. You're not allowed to build up slowly. It's got to be now. And it's all down to that.
I agree. Charlie, do you think you've got a youth set up at Man United, like Stuart's point, that you can bring through another group of youngsters?
I don't think you'll ever get a group of kids through ever again like that. No. I don't think you'll get like 5 or 6 where you just go bang straight into the side. Because I don't think managers can afford to. If it goes wrong and within 6 months, that manager's out the door and everyone blames the fact that he brought the kids through. I feel like academies also, it's almost become a way of getting money for the financial fair play rather than actual bringing youth through.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was at the. a youngster got bought for 40 million, and he'd never played a minute of Premier League football. And it's like, but then because of that financial fair play, they was able to spend so much more. It's like Garnacho. If we sell Garnacho in the summer, instead of spending 70 million, we can afford to spend 140 or something like that, just because he's classed as an academy player and whatever with the financial fair play rules. So I think, I think they're more seen as assets rather than players now.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I also feel like fans these days are way too reactionary. If you bring a kid through, and after 4 or 5 games, they're not good enough, the fans are abusing them on social media. They're no good. Get them out. How is that good for anyone's confidence?
It's not.
If you're getting bashed by thousands of fans on Twitter, and these young players, they do know what gets said about them on social media. Absolutely.
You're right. You know, Charlie, I watched. I've been looking at a load of social media sites because we're trying to get different players on. I know we're running out of time. I want to get onto Jim Ratcliffe. I looked at that Mark Goldbridge's one there. He's a Man United fan, right? He's got over 2 million subscribers. Now, whoever goes to watch Man United, 60,000 people see what's going on. Mark Goldbridge can come out and speak to 2 million people, right? And there's 2 million people now that are listening to the way Mark Goldbridge has watched that game. Not exactly how the game went. He don't even go, does he? Because he does watch-alongs. So when you do watch-alongs, you don't see what players are running for the ball. You don't see that players are running off the ball. You don't really see that people's trying. And hence, I've said this a while back, I think some of these influencers, creators, whatever you do, I think they're ruining the game. And I've said it for ages now, especially some of the, I won't mention their name, right, but we know that they prefer it sometimes when there's a Tottenham guy. You know, he loves it when Spurs lose because he can go off the deep end. He's hilarious, right? He's hilarious.
That's what Arsenal do, isn't it?
Yeah, and same again. But a lot of these players, a lot of these people that never go football, like none of my grandsons, you know, that West Ham fans don't want to go, would rather see it. They're listening to these idiots, right, slagging off their own team. They're not even saying anything positive about their own team. Now, Charlie, I know we're running out of time. Did you see the Jim Ratcliffe interview, Charlie?
Yeah.
That's it. We can hear you.
He on there now, whether he was bluffing or not, I don't know. And he said they're making all these cuts, etc., because he thinks if they didn't sack the tea lady, if they didn't sack the car park attendants and the stewards, he ain't sacked no one other than a body language expert who was on 175 grand a year, that they would be out of money by Christmas. Now, do you think that Man United really would have been skimped by Christmas?
I don't think we would have been skimped by Christmas. I think in terms of buying players, I think they would have struggled because of whatever these financial fair play rules are. I mean, going back first of all to Mark Goldbridge, if you would rather listen to someone on YouTube commentate on a football game rather than watch the game of football, what does that say about the game of football?
Yeah. I agree.
Right. Exactly. Number one. I mean, even if you're listening to them or watching them whilst watching the game, you're still concentrating on what they're saying. And people are just waiting for them to say something controversial. But I mean, how you can sit there and listen to someone. I mean, maybe to them it's like their version of commentary, but I just couldn't watch them and watch the game.
I've never watched any watch along whatsoever.
No, neither have I. I don't intend to.
They all do them. All the fan sites do them. They all do.
I get why they do them. It pulls in a lot of viewers and stuff, and it's not their fault. If like thousands of people want to watch the game, okay, fair enough. I mean, that's today's generation, isn't it? But going back to Radcliffe, I don't think people realised how much money Man United was losing. I understand the cuts. But then if you're going to make cuts and up ticket prices and everything else, I mean, we're still getting linked with that Victor Osimhen. So what? How can you do all these cuts and then go, right, we're going to then buy him for 60, 70 mil and then give him 300 grand a week? That makes no sense. But then also, the big problem is today's football and prices. Southampton, what was it? Reckon that Tyler Diblin's worth 100 million. How can it be worth 100 mil? I mean, if you look at the biggest 2 examples I can give of Rasmus Højlund and Darwin Núñez. Now Núñez was Benfica, Højlund was Atalanta. Now they are They were seen as good young strikers with a lot of potential. But because they've got a lot of potential, they're being like, we're adding 50, 60 million, those clubs, onto the value of what they actually are. They was only really 25 to 30 million. But because, we don't want to sell them and we think they've got a lot of potential, that another 50, 60 mil gets added. And then clubs ain't got no money because you're buying players just that are way above what they should be.
And then you're paying the exorbitant wages for that player.
The wages, don't forget the agent fees that come along with it.
I mean, it's like free transfers. They're not free. It's not free.
No.
You still have to pay out millions in agents fees, millions for signing on fees. So you're still laying out a load of money. It's not free.
So let's go full circle then. It makes more sense. So in regards to Man United right now, obviously they made those cutbacks. The enthusiasm or the morale's the right word. The morale at the place is not great. I'm talking about if you got rid of all the tea ladies and stuff, the fans are pissed. Put the youth on. They don't cost you as much. And it also shows that you're having to make transfer decisions now as well based on money. If you had a really good point there, Joe. If they spend £100 million on a player now, what does that tell you? After making all those cutbacks, and you're going to go, where did that come from? So I go back to what me and Duggy had a conversation during the week. And Duggy, you mentioned it on the Bosman rule, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I wasn't on the call with you and JB. I still think you should have a certain percentage of your team should be British players.
Yeah, that's
British
exactly what I agree with.
You should have it on there, man.
I think I said on there with JB, it should be 6 British or homegrown players, and 5 foreigners. There should be a majority of homegrown players, and that way your youth are going to come through, and then
100%.
You can develop a youth player then, and then if you want to sell him for 100 million, sell him for 100 million.
And that, Stuart, is good business. What you've just said.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can't believe the owners don't work that out.
Yeah. I mean, what happened to our youth team? It won the Premier League 2. They won their version of the FA Cup. And then what happened to them? Nothing. I mean, years ago, like I said with Fergie, he had that group of youngsters. They won everything in the youth, and he put them straight in. Yes, he got ridiculed for it at the start, but everybody had to eat humble pie in the end because they turned out to be one of the best teams the Premier League has ever seen.
For years.
Yeah.
It wasn't just 1 year.
For years,
they were young.
Yeah.
Joe, could I just, before we go any further, as you can see, we've ended up speaking about business instead of football, and we've had this over and over again.
It ties into football. That's the trouble, doesn't it? Business ties into football.
Now, if you listen to the JB one, I don't know what Tony's going to call it. We called it relegation woes, and for whatever reason, we went round the houses before we got there, Stu, John and I. But John's got some really cracking ideas of how he thinks to help, not just football in general, helping the clubs that come up. It will involve wage caps and everything. So when that comes up, watch that. Now, there's a couple of things, guys. We're coming to the end of the season. Now, I sat there this morning and we're going to do a live, Charlie. So hopefully you come on with John. It'd be nice if we get a few on. I want to get who we think was the youngster of the year, the best player of the year. Now, for me, right, the manager of the year, my choice is going to be between
David Moyes, yeah?
David Moyes being one of them, the Nottingham Forest manager, or Arne Slot. Now, I do think Arne Slot he's sort of been bypassed, hasn't he? He's so quiet, and they're winning the league, and barely anyone talks about Slot. I think Nuno at Forest has done an absolutely amazing job. But I've got to tell you, mate, when me personally, and especially me, I thought, what on earth are Everton doing getting rid of Dyche and bringing in Sean Dyche's twin brother? Man, how wrong have I been? And I'll tell you, I want one him back. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't. But I think he's done an amazing job at Everton. Manager of the year would be out of them three. Who would yours be, Charlie?
The wheels will come off that bus next season because he's already come out and said he won't be using Beto next season as his attacker. He's going to rip that team apart. He will rip it apart, and it will end up like what he done with us.
We can only talk about what he's done so far. Charlie, who would your manager of the season be?
I think you've got to give it to the Forest manager.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I do like. I mean, well done, Eddie Howe, finally getting Newcastle a trophy, and they've done well in the league. Fair play to them. But I think what Forest have done, what Forest have done, no one saw this coming. And I think the Premier League's been bad for a good 3 to 4 years now, but you can only beat what's put in front of you. And I think no one saw that coming. So, that's Santo.
What about you, Tom? Who's your manager of the year?
Well, do you know what? I'll give it to Arne Slot, because we didn't know a lot about him. He came in, and he's obviously won the Premiership with what he had. I don't think he went out there and bought. He's like, let's give him another season because he needs to replace his team. He won with what he's got, and I quite admire that when a manager can just come in and do the best with what he's got, rather than saying, "Oh, I need time to rebuild and money and stuff." So. Yeah, good on him.
Stu, who's yours?
Lopetegui.
Yeah, Postecoglou for making Tottenham so shit. No, joking aside, I'd have to side with Charlie. I think, I'd go for Nuno.
Nuno.
Yeah. I mean, I would have gone for Slot, but Slot inherited a good team. He did a good team, right, from Klopp. So I'll go for Nuno because he actually brought in his own players, and he's done the business. And like I said, no one expected that. No one. And good luck to them. I hope they get Champions League. I really do.
Yeah, good luck. So listen, Charlie, we're going to do a live. John's offered to come on if you're interested, and it's going to be down to Tony. God knows how it's going to go, but we won't be able to edit it, so it will just go as it goes. But really enjoyed today, boys. Lots of subjects.
I'll have to have a gag.
Yeah, depends what time of day it is.
All right. Well, appreciate everybody's input, and good show. So please do not forget to like and subscribe. Our subscription numbers have gone flatlined, so thanks to those who watch the show every Wednesday. But tell your mates, and please do share it around. Do appreciate it. So don't forget, like, subscribe, and thanks, gentlemen, once again. Stuart, do you want to just take us out?
Certainly will, my man. Take care, stay safe, and stay lucky, my friends. Come on, you irons.
Cheers.